kind of sad. Tanev was I mean, he's not a world beater or anything, but he's kind of a guy that I thought would be a good fit. You never know. But on to other things, I guess, man. He gone.
It's weird having a patient GM, you know, because they've had a pushover GM for X amount of years, and now somebody who's going to exercise patience and not be like, okay, we'll take it, we'll give you a first for Chris Tanev. It's mixed reviews, I think, in this market today. Having said that, dude, I don't know why you would get involved in a market that makes no sense. Like this is a shit market. People are overplaying the deadline in general. I wouldn't say that just this year, every year, but this market stinks. And I would never ever pay a first round pick or plus for a guy like Chris Tanev. How'd you feel about him going to Dallas?
Yeah, I get it. I knew there'd be other people in the works. I thought it might happen closer to the deadline, but I guess we're creeping up on it. Would have liked to make a deal for him, but I in the back of my mind, I had a feeling they might not want to deal with Tree Living. They might not just
Do you buy
want.
that? You buy
I
that?
kind of I kind of do. I don't know what happened there with him and his exit and how it all went, but I got the feeling that maybe, there's a lot of different guys on that outfit that could fit the Leafs, needs right now, and it just seems like they're just. And what do I know? I'm not in there. I'm not on the phones. I'm not in the office. But I just had this feeling like they're just like, maybe if you like overpay, but we're looking elsewhere. And I had a feeling someone else was gonna just pay more than we were willing to pay. Like that first rounder is not going anywhere. You know, like Easton Cowan's not going anywhere. So it's just like I have a feeling they're going to want this, and he's going to say no, and that's going to be the end of it. And I think that's kind of how it went down.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things at play here. I mean, there's been reports the last couple days that TANF camp's going to look for 5 or 6 million bucks AV on their next contract. The guy's 34. Like, yeah, would he have been a perfect fit at least right now? Maybe not so much long term. Yes, but do you just give up the farm to acquire Chris Tanev for a playoff run? I just couldn't get to that level. Like the Flames got more than their asking price. If you recall, it was a second round pick. They got a second plus plus, so a conditional third. I believe the condition is if Dallas makes a Stanley Cup final, then Calgary gets that third and a prospect nobody's ever heard of. I just think people are so quick, Rosie, to jump to conclusions and say, "Oh, the Leaf they don't want to work with the Leafs." No way. They said this about Zadorov too. I don't buy that. If you're Craig Conroy, the GM of the Calgary Flames, you are looking for the best deal possible. I don't care if it's Edmonton. I don't care if it's Toronto and the previous GM. I just would like to think GMs are not that petty.
Yeah, and not petty, but just again, I don't know what happened on the exit. I think there was something weird going on where they, barred him from going to the draft, and he's like all these kind of weird stuff makes you think there might be some kind of weird underlying bad blood. But also with Conroy, like you're always measured against your predecessor and who came before you rather. And if you do a big deal with him and it doesn't end up going bad, there's just going to be this whole layer of he was better than you and he took advantage of you. And all the people that didn't want to see Tree Living go would say, see, I told you, look at him work Conroy over in the only deal they got done. So there might be a little bit of that just egotistically. But I mean, at the end of the day, I do believe that it went down to they weren't willing to offer as much as others. And there was more teams after Chris Tanev than the Maple Leafs.
Well, that's a thing, right? I mean, the Leafs could have loved Chris Tanev as much as they wanted to, but there was like 5, 6 teams involved. A tweet I put out on Wednesday night, Toronto was in it till the end. Sounds like Vancouver was as well to an extent. Edmonton was in there, but I think those were the final three. I mean, don't quote me on it, but it sounds like those three were the most aggressive, and ultimately he goes to Dallas. But like, let's not lose sight of the fact that they wanted a second rounder as like a starting asking price, and every time that's set, you probably have to go above and beyond to land the player. But in this scenario, the Leafs didn't have a second rounder. So I don't know what people expected the Leafs to do. Give up a first rounder? I guess that's what people are implying.
If they did, people would be. I
Exactly.
mean, he'd come there. He'd come there with, a negative cloud over his head right off the beginning, and people would be watching that first rounder and what he became, and always holding Tree Living's feet to the fire for. And I don't think that Tanev, like you said, is that big of a world beater to have, that big of a risk. I mean, look what Cowan's doing in the Ontario League right now as their late first round pick. And I mean, he's looking like, holy, this guy could potentially be a serious player. And then if you lose that guy for a run that doesn't work out and he doesn't re-sign, it's like, nice job, and it's tough. It's tough to be a GM, man. And we got Chuck Fletcher coming on. We want to pick his brain a little bit today about what that's like, and the pressure and the worry, and the you don't have a crystal ball. You're trying to make these deals and you're like, if this doesn't work out, it's gonna look real bad for me. And I mean, one bad deal is the writing on the wall for some guys when it comes to them being done with their tenure in an organization, is looking back and saying, oh, you really botched that one deal, man, and it screwed us.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.